You might have played text-based Star Trek games before, but you probably have not played this one. One of the earliest games written for any computer was a terminal-based strategy game based on Star Trek. It was first created in 1971 by Mike Mayfield and Bob Leedom, written in the BASIC computer language for a few different mainframe computers, notably the PDP-10 and the SDS Sigma 7. But later, and actually quite quickly, over time it was ported and adapted and improved by what seems like hundreds of other people. As a lad, I played a lot of these games. Now, before Tea Leaves was a YouTube channel, it was a weblog, and in the very first year of that weblog, I published an article with the extremely clever, I thought, Italo-Calvino-like title of Giochi Inesistenti, that described the strangest of all of these Star Trek games, a game which, at seemingly random times, would emit long, wandering quotes from Marcus Aurelius Meditations. It was such a strange, mismatched thing that I wasn't entirely sure that it really existed, and I hadn't just dreamt the entire thing. So I had looked for this game on and off since that time. I posted a bounty on Google Answers, if you remember that end-of-life Google product, with no results. Occasionally, I have encountered other people who similarly wondered if they imagined the entire thing. I'm not really sure why I felt and feel compelled to Google for this strange little game every few years. It was just such an odd detail for a game that it's stuck in my head. You'd be flying through the galaxy, warping here, impulsing there, shooting photon torpedoes at Romulans and shooting phasers at Klingons, when all of a sudden the game would interrupt you with something like, "To the aids which have been mentioned, let this one still be added. Make for thyself a definition or description of the thing which is presented to thee, so as to see distinctly what kind of thing it is in its substance, in its nudity, in its complete entirety. And tell thyself its proper name, and the names of the things of which it has been compounded, and into which it will be resolved." Marcus Aurelius 3:11. It was strange, okay? It was really strange. Now, there are many websites tracking the different versions of these games. Most commentators attribute them, or at least attribute the popularization of them, to Dave Al, who indeed included a version of this game in his book, Basic Computer Games, which for many of us was a seminal work that we all referred to and typed in games into our computers from. But I'm going to call them Mayfield Trek games in honor of the game's original creator, Mike Mayfield. But none of the most common sources, even the encyclopedic catalog at Pete Turnbull's page on the games, have the games with the Aurelius quotes in them. Their existence is mentioned in the game history section of the documentation for the version by Matuzik, Paul Reynolds et al. I'm going to read a quote here. Quote, "Dave Matuzik, Paul Reynolds et al. At UT Austin played the Hicks version on a CDC 6600, but disliked the long load times and extreme slowness of the basic program. David Matuzik notes that the Hicks version he played had a habit of throwing long quotes from Marcus Aurelius at the users, a feature he found intolerable on a TTY at 110 baud. It must, therefore, have been rather longer than the one we have." End quote. For the younger people watching this video, 110 baud is very slow. If you imagine words of text scrolling across your screen being written out, 110 baud is probably about twice as slow as I'm speaking to you right now. I haven't measured it, but I was on a lot of 300 baud BBSs, and they're about the speed I'm speaking now, so 110 is less than half, about a third of the speed at which I'm speaking. So you would think in this age of ubiquitous search, it should be easy to find this, but source code tends to not be indexed the same way as text. So I searched without luck for years. Finally, a few years ago, I stumbled across the source code to one variant of this game on, of all places, a quick basic focused forum that seemed at the time to only be hosted on Tapatalk. I don't even know if Tapatalk exists anymore. It's probably only reachable via the Internet Archive. The author of the game posted the source into a thread back in 2002. A little cutting and pasting later, and now I have a disk image with the source code on it. I've since uploaded it to archive.org. You're welcome. The author of this version indicates that he modularized it, separating out the Aurelius quotes, which previously had been an integral part of the basic code, into a separate .doc file. In that file, the author describes the provenance of the game as he understands it, and let me quote again. General idea stolen from Pen U by Hicks, vastly improved and adapted to Taurus by Corp, April 1973, adapted for the IBM PC by Woods, April 1983, modularized by McLemore, February 1988. If you have any comments or bugs, etc., 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 press any key to continue. Now, in my original post looking for the game, I indicated that I had played it on an Apple II, and I still believe this, even though this version is on the IBM PC. Why do I believe this? Well, first, I recall the Aurelius quotes being in uppercase because they were hard to read because they were in all uppercase. Second, they really interrupted the flow of the game because they kind of scrolled onto the screen, not quite at the 110 baud that one of the earlier developers refers to, but slower than they appear in this PC version. So neither of these attributes apply to this PC port. And in addition, there is at least one other human being out there who remembers playing this version or a very similar version on the Apple II. So on the one hand, the search continues because I'd still like to see the precise version of this game on the Apple II that I played back in the day. And so if you know where to find it, please leave a comment. I very much want to talk to you. On the other hand, at least now I can prove that I did not imagine a Star Trek game which emitted long, wandering quotes from Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So, the search is over, and the search continues. You're watching Tea Leaves Programming. We're gaming like it's 1979. Thanks for watching.